In a very short period of time, Nikola Jokic managed to insert himself into the best center in the league conversation. He took his case to a whole different level with his performance in the 2020 NBA playoffs, where his Denver Nuggets upset the LA Clippers and gave the LA Lakers a huge fight in the West Finals. But is the Joker really good enough to lead the team farther? Join us now as we look at how good Nikola Jokic really is. Nikola Jokic was never supposed to be as good as he is today, let alone the best center in the game or an MVP candidate. According to many NBA experts back in the day, scouts and executives got their first good look at Jokic back in the 2014 Nike Hoop Summit, a yearly competition that features a team of American prospects facing a team of international prospects. Jokic matched up against the likes of Karl Anthony Towns and Jahlil Okafor, yet still managed to steal the show. His unorthodox style of basketball immediately stood out. Amazing footwork, ridiculously crafty hands, and a loaded arsenal of passes all made Jokic look like an alien. But there was something that really held him back: stereotypes. Jokic had always been a big boy, but not the type of big teams looked for. He was slow and appeared to be very unathletic compared to the pack. He was getting exposed on the defensive end, both guarding the pick and roll and in the low post. No matter how innovative and out of this world his skill set looked, he still didn't fit the mold for an NBA center. Maybe if his jersey had read Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, or North Carolina, we all would have felt more comfortable with how Jokic fit into the NBA, said Mike Schmitz, an ESPN writer and NBA draft expert. But Jokic was just a chubby Serbian teenager with ridiculous basketball skills. Even the Denver Nuggets, who were really high on Jokic and were enamored with what he brought to the table, weren't all that sure about him. The Nuggets used their first-round pick to acquire Jusuf Nurkic, another international center, and their first second-rounder to draft Spencer Dinwiddie. It wasn't until their third chance at the 41st slot that Denver took Jokic. Fast forward 7 years, and nobody this season has a higher box plus-minus, value over replacement player, or more win shares than the Joker. He has a very strong case for the best player of the 2014 class title, one that he's still fighting to secure against Joel Embiid, who also happens to be his strongest competitor for the best center in the NBA title as well. Jokic is redefining offensive dominance in a way no other big man has before. We're used to seeing big men dominate the game with their scoring, rebounding, or blocks, but Jokic is doing it with all-time great passing. People often like to call him the best passing big man of all time. But it's time we start getting rid of the big tag and simply start looking at him as one of the best passers of all time, period. But of course, that's far from the only thing he can do. So let's go ahead and take a deep look at the skills and game of Nikola Jokic. But before we do, let us know in the comments down below whether you think Jokic can lead the Nuggets back to the Western Conference Finals this season. Let's start with the most notable part of Jokic's game, his passing. As we said earlier, Jokic doesn't only throw the best passes we've seen from a big man, but also some of the best we've ever seen by anybody. This season, the Joker has a 38 assist percentage, a top 10 mark in the NBA, and the highest among frontcourt players. Jokic also has a 1.22 assist to usage ratio, 15th in the NBA among players with at least 300 minutes, meaning he distributes the ball a lot in comparison to his usage. But few others in the top 15 are in a role remotely similar to Jokic, as only James Harden and Russell Westbrook have similar usage and assist-to-usage rates. All of these numbers just to confirm what the eye test suggests. Jokic is one of the best distributors in the entire league. One of the keys to his amazing passes is how well Jokic knows his teammates. He knows where each likes the ball and how each likes to score. They've also grown used to Jokic hitting them with pinpoint passes that he can dish out of nowhere. We're making ourselves available to be ready to catch and shoot, putting ourselves in position to be assisted, Paul Millsap, one of Jokic's teammates, said. It's obviously unbelievable the things that he can do, the way he reads the floor and reads defenses. There's only a certain select few people who are capable in this league of doing that. And even though Jokic's passing is what stands out the most from his game, he's also an extremely talented scorer. The Joker is a monster in the post, and that's mainly due to two reasons. One, he has excellent footwork that he uses to get enough space, as well as a smooth post hook and a weird variant of Dirk Nowitzki's one-legged fadeaway that's somehow even more lethal. This season, Jokic ranks 5th in the NBA with 1.01 points per post-up possession, meaning the Nuggets are guaranteed a point every time he posts up. The second reason why he's so dangerous when he has the ball in the low post is due to the fact that he's an excellent post passer. He's an excellent passer overall, but his passing off the post stands out because of how quick he sees teammates cutting or getting open on the three-point line. He can post up everybody in the league when he wants to, teammate Jamal Murray said. It's incredible what he can do, and he's so calm about it. It's a pleasure to be able to throw the ball to him and just, I'm there ready to shoot. And when he's doing that, they can't stop it. That's just how Jokic operates. He's cool, calm, collected at all times. But we guess anybody would be if they knew no matter what the D throws at them, they're still going to dominate. The Joker complements his lethal post offense with an elite jump shot that is damn near unguardable. The mechanics look strange, but once Jokic gets that ball to his high release point, his elbow is perfectly tucked in and his arm releases the ball with a huge rainbow arc that often finds its way through the hoop. In a league where the mid-range shot is in danger of extinction, Jokic has established himself as one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. He's made 55% of his middies this season, good for third in the NBA among players with at least 50 mid-range jump shots attempted. But nobody attempts nearly as many of them as Jokic, who takes almost 9 mid-range shots per game. When you can make them at such a high clip, there's nobody who can complain about him taking those looks. Jokic is also shooting 40% on almost 4 3-point shots per game, which forces opposing elite rim protectors like Rudy Gobert and Clint Capella to go out and guard him. A lot is made of big men who can shoot threes at a high rate because of how much spacing it gives their teammates. But when Jokic has the ball on the perimeter, it's even more dangerous than usual, because if he decides not to shoot, he has the elite court vision needed to hit other teammates when the defense rushes to close out on him. See how well Jokic's scoring skills complement his playmaking skills? That's what makes him so dangerous. Jokic has become the most complete offensive center in the history of our game. The array of diverse skills he possesses and executes at a high level is unmatched. There's nothing he can't do on the offensive end. He can shoot, he can work in the post, he can most definitely pass, and he can set good screens. Perhaps the only thing he can't do is catch high alley-oops, but he gets a pass because he's way better at throwing lob passes. Jokic's dominance was fully on display this past year in the NBA playoffs. Watching the Nuggets come back from down 1-3 in the first round against the Jazz was impressive. But as if once wasn't enough, Denver repeated their feat against a much more impressive opponent, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Joker's fingerprints were all over the stat sheet. He became only the third player to lead both teams in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks during a playoff series, joining LeBron James and Kevin Garnett as the only to do so since blocks were first recorded in 1973. The same chubby center that scouts weren't convinced about 6 seasons earlier in the Nike Hoop Summit had just starred and led his team to one of the biggest playoff comebacks and upsets ever. And you know what he did after destroying the Clippers in Game 7? He ate pizza and appetizers at a restaurant in the Nuggets bubble hotel room and tried to teach his teammates some Serbian dance moves. It's impossible not to love him. This season, the Nuggets face a much tougher task though. The Lakers revamped and strengthened their roster. The Clippers are still a super hard matchup, and it would take another unlikely slump for them to underachieve again. The Jazz have also surfaced as the best regular season team not only in the West, but in the entire NBA with their beautiful ball movement and their potent offense. Meanwhile, the Nuggets lost a key contributor in Jeremy Grant, as well as backup center Mason Plumlee. Jokic has managed to pick up where he left off at the end of the bubble playoffs. He's firmly in the MVP discussion with averages of 26.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 8.6 assists on 56.7% shooting from the field and 39.1% from three. He's averaging career highs across the board on most every category and is having a career year. Unfortunately, the Nuggets are just 14-11, good for only 7th in the loaded Western Conference. And the recurring theme up to this point is inconsistency. Jamal Murray hasn't been close to replicating his elite 2020 playoffs level of play, while Michael Porter Jr. is still getting NBA reps on his way to becoming a third-star player on the team. The only consistent one is Jokic playing well and recording a triple-double or a near triple-double every single night. Perhaps the Nuggets thought the huge momentum they built in the bubble would automatically carry on. That hasn't exactly been the case, but the fact we're still seeing them dominate every now and then is still encouraging. They desperately need some consistency, and fortunately for them, they have one of the most consistent guys in the league leading their team. Denver has the benefit of versatility, but there's also value in sticking to what works. For example, the Nuggets average 1.25 points per pick-and-roll possession with Jokic as the roll man, which is a play the team found success with in last year's playoffs and can fall back to this year as well. What's abundantly clear is Jokic is at the center of the team's success. If he can keep this level of play up, don't be surprised to see Jokic as one of the finalists in the MVP race. Perhaps he doesn't have a storyline or the team success that usually boosts players' odds at winning, but Jokic is an MVP caliber player. That's how good he is, and he's proven capable of leading his team deep into the playoffs. he's more than holding up his end of the deal. Now it's up to everybody else in Denver to give their superstar center the help he needs. How good do you think Nikola Jokic really is? Will he manage to win a league MVP or an NBA championship one day? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel.